Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University comes to you every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, which I call here on the show Bearcat Time. So happy to be here with Kevin McKeown and Kevin McKeown, Binghamton Bearcats men's lacrosse head coach, right on the heels of them releasing their 2026 schedule. And so happy to talk about that in the upcoming season. Kevin, how are you?
Doing great, Dan. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to have you here. Happy to have you back on the show. My brain can't function believing that lacrosse season is right around the corner when we talk about the spring, but it's definitely not that far away. Bring me into just kind of what, since last season ended to right now, what the journey's been like for you.
Yeah, it's always fun to get into a new year and get some new guys on campus and see some new leadership emerge. It's been a good fall. We did lose I would say some big personalities and some big players on the field for us
Yeah.
from last year. So you never know kind of what it's going to look like. When you do lose some big faces, and we felt like the room felt really different when we were talking to the guys, but it's been a really enjoyable group to work with so far. We've got a great group of seniors, that are leading the team, and the guys on the team seem to be really, really following those guys. So, we're excited. Had a couple good scrimmages this fall, and thought we competed pretty well, and excited for what's to come in the spring.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, change happens, and some faces that were there aren't there anymore. New faces come in. What what can you say to the kind of cultural makeup and environment of the team? I mean, you know what this team is like. You know what it's like to be a part of ushering in this program to Binghamton, to being a student athlete, to being a part of it. So, what does this shift look like when you do have to reload, essentially, not rebuild, but reload? Just what 2025 to 2026 has looked like for you?
Yeah, it's definitely a learning process of figuring out, what the group needs, what are our newcomers and how are they going to fit in, with the returners. I think that's the biggest piece, every year in college sports. For us, it's usually 25 to 30%, of the roster is different from last year. So it's very much a different team and different dynamic. I think for us, what we want to see is, we want to have a group of guys that are competitive on the field and that really like lacrosse. And so far, I think we've seen that, from the guys. So we're excited about the prospects in the spring.
Yeah, and you talked about going through some scrimmages just to share who you went up against and what those takeaways were, how many scrimmages you were able to get in.
Yeah, so we scrimmaged two outside opponents. We scrimmaged Syracuse up at Jamesville DeWitt High School
Yeah.
in mid-October, and then the following weekend after that, we scrimmaged Hobart here on campus. So, kind of two upstate New York rivals that we were able to go against, and just felt like we competed well. I think when you go into some of these fall scrimmages, there's not a lot of scouting, there's not a lot of preparation necessarily for the other team, and so we just wanted to kind of see how our guys. Went toe to toe with obviously a couple good opponents. So we were pleased with some of the things we saw, but certainly saw probably more things that we need to work on and shore up for the fall.
Yeah, and like you said, when you get to play New York opponents and get to go up against them in these scrimmages, just what that does for you, what it does to kind of maybe build the brands and to continue to sell the message of Binghamton University and who you are. I mean, scrimmages don't count, but let's be real. When you're a head coach and you're scrimmaging, they do count because, like you said, you're seeing the things you like and you're seeing the things you don't. So, what does it do to spread the brand, spread the message, and to give you what you need to see as you head into the spring?
Yeah, well, for starters, with the Syracuse scrimmage, like I said, we were at Jamesville DeWitt High School and had a really, really great turnout on a Friday evening there. Probably had, over 1,000 to 2,000 people there watching it. So, just getting that exposure, in an area that we recruit is huge. And I think also seeing our guys, like I said, compete well, with a team of that caliber, a top five opponent. So. We were pleased with that, and I think you kind of want to get the maybe sneak preview of all right, what type of team can we be in the spring?
Yeah.
What did we do well in those fall scrimmages? What did we not do well? And what are maybe going to be our points of emphasis in trying to find our identity, early in the season in February.
Yeah, and when you have that crowd, I mean, obviously helping in recruitment, right? Being up at the high school, not being too far away in the state of New York, in the backyard of Binghamton University, so to speak, to have so many people there, to be at a local high school, just what that does to get eyes on the program for the future as you build toward the present.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. There's a ton of kids there, young kids, middle schoolers, elementary school kids that were, running around watching us and playing. And, we had, some alums from the area that were there, with their kids. So it's definitely a huge thing for us.
And when you're looking at a team that obviously, like we talk about, has some new faces and has some new elements to it, are there certain things that you say, okay, I'm losing this, this is moving on, so I want to bring in this caliber, this type? I mean, do you look for types? Do you look for, I mean, you position wise, you're going to look for positions, right? If you're losing this position, you want to get this. If you realize last season we didn't have enough depth here, you're going to build that depth. But is there a certain like MO or type of player where you're looking for like, hey, I know that every year I need one of these or three of these. Is there a certain chemical makeup, so to speak, that you look for?
Uh, yeah, in terms of like the roles we feel like guys are going to play, we try to bring in a balanced group. We want to bring in guys that can create offensively. We want to bring in guys that can finish offensively. On the defensive side, we might have a mix where, we bring in maybe a bigger guy that can be physical on the defensive side, but then maybe it's also combined with maybe a smaller guy that has great footwork and can hang with speed and change of direction. So I think one thing we try to do is make sure we have some balance in the classes coming in, and we don't necessarily, all right, look at, hey, we're losing this one guy, how are we going to replace him with one other guy? I think it's just trying to have balance, like I said, in the classes, and then every year kind of figure out, all right, what type of team are we going to be? What are our strengths? What can we do well? And how do the pieces fit on that particular year?
Yeah, and as we look throughout the program, I'm just looking at the roster right now here in the studio, and obviously all over New York, right from Yonkers to Vestal, but we also have Westland, Oregon. We have Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, with the Mount Sinai's and the Huntingtons of New York. You obviously have gone into New Jersey. You're in the Binghamton area. You're in the Texas area with multiple guys. New Hampshire, so Colorado as well, Connecticut. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody here. And there's parts of New York that you've gone to that I'm like, wow, more challenges in figuring out how to say that word. So there's a few here. Like I know how to say Massapequa, but there's some other ones on here that I'm like, all right, that's a challenge. You got Syracuse, you got Beeville, you got Webster, New York. Also, looking at Maryland's, you've gone up to Watertown, but Hopage, is that right?
I think that's Hop Hog.
Hop Hog, New York. So that's one of the ones where I'm like, man, I haven't seen that before. And then you go to Bradford, Ontario, Canada, Charleston, South Carolina. Three student athletes on here from Texas. So I mean, the footprint of Binghamton and just what you can say about as you look across this roster. how you've kind of chosen what you've chosen, because people are not surprised to see New York, but maybe they are surprised to see a bunch from Texas, or looking at South Carolina, going outside of the Northeast and then also going up to Canada.
Yeah, we'll definitely have, like you're saying, a lot of diversity on the roster. Being a New York State school, I think we'll always kind of make New York a home ground for us, obviously, with the talent and the familiarity with the school and the price tag, starting off for in-state students. But the game has grown so much across the country and in non-traditional areas, west of the Mississippi,
Yeah.
and in the South, like you mentioned, Texas and South Carolina that we have represented on our roster here. There's a lot of good players everywhere, and a lot of times there's maybe not as much competition in recruiting. In some of those more non-traditional areas, but the game has grown, and there's so many kids playing across the country. So, we feel confident that we can get some good players, outside of the state and even outside of the region.
And when you are going out and recruiting, I do want to give credit to your staff and speak on Brandon, Rory, and Nick, and just what it's like to work with these gentlemen, and how you kind of have those war room conversations where there's a bunch of names and a bunch of statistics and faces, and trying to figure out, who's going to be the right fit for this team.
Yeah, well, we've only been together, the four of us as a whole, for about a month now.
Yeah.
Nick Clinton just came on in October, and really excited about adding him to direct our offense. But yeah, it's definitely a collaborative effort. Certainly, I'm not here recruiting 40 guys by myself, and appreciate the work that those guys put into it, and definitely want to have that collaboration, and we're able to kind of spread our wings a little bit as we go out on the recruiting trail, and see a little bit more in terms of games. But we like to try to have a lot of overlap, and maybe even watch the same games, just to make sure everybody's on the same page, and we have a good idea of who we're bringing in here to the program.
Yeah, and you said that, as a whole, you've all been together for about a month, with Nick Clinton coming in to lead your offense. What did you see in Nick? And just bring me into that decision, and what element you think he can bring to this offense, why he was the right fit.
Yeah, well, he's a guy who he's got some upstate New York familiarity. Went to school at St. Bonaventure, also coached there for a couple years, and I definitely just think philosophically kind of fit. What we're looking for. Think he's really passionate about the game, and teaching it, and think he's learned from some great minds. Along his path here in the past 5 6 years. So. Excited to have him. The guys have, I think, adapted really well to what he's telling them, and excited to see us get more into things as we get into the spring.
And when you look at the roles, when you talk about Nick leading your offense, when you look to Brandon and Rory, and where their ultimate focus is going to be, just to kind of share how they shore out the rest of this coaching staff.
Yep. Brandon works with our specialists, goalies and face-off guys, obviously two really important positions. And then Rory will assist me with the defense. The two of us will kind of tag team that side of the field. And yeah, just really happy with the staff so far. All the guys bring great energy, and have different ways of doing things, which I think is important. So we're not all the same people going out there looking at things the same ways and trying to do things the same ways. I think having some balance with personality and styles is important.
You seem to be very even keel. You don't seem to get too high or too low. Does that change when the camera goes off? Do you get a little adventurous, a little heated in practice? Like, what do you look like do you have those moments where you're like, hey, I'm just gonna let it fly? Because Kevin, when I speak with you, you always seem just very like you're right there, right in the middle, which to a lot of people say, they say it's a good thing. You don't let the highs get too high, the lows get too low. But what happens off the camera?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty similar, maybe 95% of the time.
Okay.
I think there certainly are times whether, you're on the high end or the lower end, where you might hit the extremes a little bit. But, I think trying to show up consistently for the team, and being authentic and, having the guys know what they're going to get from us is important. So, I think try to bring good positive energy, but at the same time, it's not going overboard and for the most part, and really just like I said, trying to be consistent with what we're doing every day.
I know we came here today to talk about the schedule, and I appreciate digging into some other pieces for 2026. And I have one more final one before we get into that schedule. Do you think that men that wear goatees live a better life since we both have one?
I'm not sure. Mine is relatively new. I picked it up during COVID and haven't really gotten rid of it since. It takes me too long to grow it back in, so I don't know. I don't know if I'd ever get it again.
Yeah, no, I think I had to take part of it off because I worked on a movie, so I could only have a mustache, and it felt weird, and then I got used to it, and then I was okay, and then I was like, what am I gonna do? And then I brought it back, and I'm very happy that it's back home. So let's jump into this schedule. Take a look at 2026 on your screen here. And for those of you that are listening on our internet streaming radio on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, we're happy to bring this picture to life for you. So here in 2026, games in February, March, April, and May, and hopefully beyond as we get into this season here. So as we start things off, we're going to take a look at the fact that you start on the road on February 7th against Lafayette. So just bring me into, and I'm going to go ahead and circle this one here, the Lafayette matchup starting on the road, what this game does for you, and knowing that you'll be away from home when you kick things off in 2026.
Yeah, I think it's a great team to open up with. They've gotten the best of us probably the last couple of years. It's a team we've played a lot, and it's a team I have a ton of respect for. They've just really shown great improvement in the last 4 to 5 years. Believe they made the Patriot League semifinals last year, which is an extremely competitive conference. So they'll be a great challenge, to get going on the road for us.
Yeah, and then when you come off of that game, you're going to be home for a bunch of matchups for the rest of February. Outside of one, you'll be at home. So I'm going to go ahead and circle these here. You'll go to your home field on February 14th, Valentine's Day, against St. Bonaventure in Vestal, New York. And then you'll be at Loudonville, New York, which you'll take on Siena, but then you'll be back in Vestal for Marist and Mercyhurst. So a quick turnaround, being able to come home, have that opportunity. Just bring me into Valentine's Day. I'm going to put a little heart on the schedule here. Why should people come out to see Binghamton and St. Bonnie's? Why should they spend their Valentine's Day out on the field?
Yeah, well, hopefully the weather cooperates. In mid-February there, lacrosse is a little bit more of a winter sport, I think, starting out in upstate New York. But honestly, those we've had three overtime wins in the past 3 years against St. Bonaventure. So always been a tough group, and it's been a game that's been an exciting one, towards the end. So. My hope is that we can, maybe not make it as exciting this year, but they'll be a tough team, and it should be a really competitive game.
Yeah, and like I said, with the rest of February here being at home for three of those next four matchups after Lafayette, and you're in the state of New York when you're up against Siena. When you look at the matchups here, though, when we look at St. Bonnie's on the 14th, we have a school based in New York. We have Siena on the 17th based in New York. And then we have Marist here on the 21st based in New York. Mercyhurst isn't that far away on the 27th in Erie, Pennsylvania is where they call home. But obviously that'll be a home matchup for you. Just playing these New York teams, and then I'm going to go ahead and go into the beginning of March here for March 7th and circle Stony Brook, another New York school. So bring me into this, and that's more of the New York City area, the Long Island, area, if you will, and not too far away from a place I knew all too well a few summers ago. So having all these New York teams, like we talked about the scrimmage, the importance of having New York matchups in your non-conference play and just what that does in recruiting and what it does to obviously, keep yourselves close to home, play at home, and also play teams that are within a certain vicinity where you would anticipate that's going to help you, like I said, in recruiting, but also with having some alumni come back.
Yeah, we're fortunate to have a lot of competitive teams and have been able to schedule them that are close by. These are all teams, the New York ones specifically, that we do recruit against a lot with in-state and out-of-state talent. So um, being able to get out across the state, have our alums that are spread out across the state. We got a lot of alums down in the New York City area. That was a game we played at Stony Brook last year, had a great turnout from our alumni, and we're able to get the win down there on the island. So, getting these regional and in-state matchups are awesome. There's a lot of familiarity between the guys on the teams and also the coaches, so they're fun to play.
Yeah, and when we look at an overall of this, like I was talking about starting the season on the road, but then when you really go down and you look through these matchups here from St. Bonaventure all the way to UMass Lowell that'll be inside of the America East Conference. I mean, we're looking at a corridor of games where you have 5 at home of 6 between February 14th and March 14th. So within a month's time, you're playing 5 of 6 matchups in front of your crowd at your field. Just what that does early on in the season for this squad.
Yeah, well, we want to win the games at home. I think that's an important thing to do, and defending our turf, and I think it's been something that maybe in the past it's been a little bit difficult
Yeah.
in terms of being able to schedule some home games. Sometimes getting teams from maybe a location down south is a little bit tougher to get them to come up at that time of year. So another reason, why we do schedule those New York teams is we'll go back and forth with each other and play home and home series. So definitely a stretch of games there that we hope we come out on the winning side of most of them.
Yeah, and when you see this and you see Vestal, New York, next to most of these games, I mean, not every season, like you were talking about, is like this, right? You're going to be playing the home and home, so this is a season where it seems like you get to be more home than away, get to lean on that a little bit more. So, just what you could say to the fans about taking advantage of a season like this, because there are seasons where it's you feel like, when are they gonna come home, right? And because you do those home and homes and the give back when you're being even in a series, and then sometimes teams want to play you at their place, and if you want to schedule them, you got to go out there and whatnot. So to have a season that is home heavy and a lot of games within the state of New York in general, just what you can say about taking advantage of these moments and what it does for the fan base, because not every season is equal when it comes to home.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for, a lot of the local lacrosse community to come out and see us. A lot of times that time of year too is also, before some of the high school and youth seasons have started. So, we definitely hope we can get out off to a good start and build some momentum and, build some buzz throughout the local lacrosse community.
And then I know you're facing off in Newark, Delaware against Delaware on the 28th of March. You start conference play on March 14th, as I mentioned, with UMass Lowell. Then you have NJIT. Then you step out of conference for a game against Delaware before you come back in with UAlbany, UMBC, Bryant, and Vermont. Just bring me into that. Having a shake up, a little mix up there, a change of scenery, that you get into conference play and then you come out of it and go back in.
Yeah, well, it's not my design, but that's the way our conference schedule is. Everybody in the conference has a bye week at some point, during the conference season. So ours there at the end of March. not a bad place. I think being able to schedule a team like Delaware is great. They've been a team that's been to the NCAA tournament, multiple years in the past few, and
Yeah.
I think they're the type of team too, that we're going to need to compete with in order to win the conference. It's a game that'll help us get better and kind of be a jumping off point, hopefully, into the month of April.
And when you look at the America East and we talk about the Vermonts, the Bryants, the UMBCs, UAlbany, UMass Lowell, and NJIT, how would you describe this Conference of the America East? What you see from it? Do you feel like there's kind of one or two players that you got to run through every year, or does it feel like it's becoming more balanced?
Yeah, honestly, it's been so competitive. You look at the past champions. Their names are changing pretty consistently. In the past 10 to 15 years. Every game is a battle, and we're just gonna try to take it one game at a time. I know that's a little cliche, but each one counts as much as the next. So I think it's important to be a little short-sighted and. I think this year I don't see it being any different in terms of it being wide open and anybody's conference to win.
I know I'm gonna ask you this because I live in the world of so many different sports, and I see schedules that are massive, and then I see schedules where some schools and sports themselves don't have as big of a schedule. Like we know with college football, you're talking about 12 games unless you play for a championship or go to a bowl game. We were talking about basketball, and there's around 31 games. When we look at this, and we know that you have 5 in February, 4 in March, so you got 9 right there. And then you have ultimately, you're going to have 4 more in April, so 13 matchups before you get into the America East postseason. As a coach, would you like to see more than 13? Do you think 13 is a good litmus test? Does it give you enough? I mean, how do you view the lacrosse schedule, which is right around the same amount of games for college football?
Yeah, I think generally we're kind of falling in the middle. I think most teams will play like 12 to 14. I think, maybe adding one more, that's the right one, would be great. A lot of teams now have just gone to one game a week, so a little bit more like the football model where you kind of get into that weekly routine and you have a way that you practice on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, leading up to the Saturday game. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of people have gotten into that routine and it's comfortable, but wouldn't be opposed to maybe adding more and more midweek game if it was the right opponent and at the right time of year, obviously, too.
Yeah, and when you talk about, putting together the schedule and the non-conference schedule, are you looking for, I know we talked about finding, teams in the state of New York and having those rivalries within there. It's good for recruitment, it's good for alumni. But do you also look for teams that look like America East opponents? Are you trying to schedule teams? Because you just said something interesting when you said not just looking for another opponent, but you said looking for the right one, the right fit. So are you essentially doing a non-conference schedule, assembling one that is going to show your student athletes similar play to teams and scheming that they're going to see in the America East?
A little bit, I think, we just try to balance things out. I think with the conferences that we play, the location maybe that we play, and then also, like you mentioned, the style of play of the opponent. I'd like to see a little bit of a mix because I think that's kind of what we see within our conference a little bit. I don't think our conference is, has like a cookie cutter style that kind of everybody has gone to. So I think having some teams that are going to put some pressure on you, having some teams that might pack it in a little bit more and play a little bit more conservatively. I think having a little bit of a mix of that is important and good. And, it's one of the factors taken into account, certainly while scheduling.
Kevin McKeown here with us, Binghamton Bearcats men's lacrosse head coach, speaking on the 2026 schedule, release, and more for the upcoming season. Kevin, it's time for us to play rapid fire goatee style. You get the first question, so what's your first one for me?
Oh, What's the favorite Thanksgiving side dish of yours?
Oh man, good question. It's going to be the first thing that I ever made for Thanksgiving. It's in honor of my mom's mom, my G mama, and that is sweet potatoes. I can't get enough of them. My mom's like, you don't have to make a lot because there's not a lot of us coming to the house, and I'm making a lot because I know that I'm going to eat them for like the 4 days after. So I'll definitely say sweet potatoes in honor of G mama up in heaven. My question back to you is, it's two parts. One, are you a good cook? Two, if you are, what are you making for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I would say I am, average to
Okay.
maybe at times below average cook.
Okay.
Um, I think I have my moments. Probably more of a summertime cook on the grill, as opposed to when we get to this time of year. But if I was going to cook something myself, I would probably go with the mashed potatoes.
Okay.
Keep it simple, but have it be a staple.
Okay. Mashed potatoes. I can respect it. Is there any specific thing that you would do with your mashed potatoes to season them your own unique way? Is there any type of like McEwen essence, so to speak?
Nothing special. I would, salt, pepper, maybe a little butter in there as you mash them up, and try to get rid of any lumps. That's for sure.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. What's your next one for me?
Next one for you. Does the family play any? You have any Thanksgiving traditions? Turkey bowl, anything like that?
So yeah, so I'm very much in the movie tradition, and typically we watch one of the Home Alones on Thanksgiving. So there will be some movie watching, and thankfully my mom said this to me because I'm a big board game player and I have a ton and they never get used. My mom said we will have to play a game. So we're actually going to bring a game element into this, which is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to throw that one back to you. I want to know your thoughts. Is there a McEwen special Thanksgiving tradition or traditions?
Yeah, we had played a turkey bowl game, but the kids kind of aged out of it.
Okay.
And now we're kind of approaching the next era where like the next era of kids are starting to age in.
Okay.
So I think we'll be getting the football game going here in the next year or two. But I would also just say probably just watching a lot of football. As I've gotten older, I've kind of trended toward that direction instead of playing. We did play a turkey bowl game with our guys here on campus
Okay.
before they left on Friday. So had a lot of fun with that, and it's something that we do every year, and the guys really enjoy.
Who's your best football player on the lacrosse team? And I asked that with Syracuse starting a lacrosse player as their quarterback. So who's the best football player on Binghamton?
Yeah, well, I'll have to go with Greg Marinelli, Baldwinsville product. He was a quarterback and three-sport athlete up there for those guys. He was our MVP of the day on Friday.
Awesome. I know Mr. Marinelli, so I can appreciate that and respect that. What is your last question for me?
Okay, last question. So I guess we'll move towards the December holidays and Christmas.
Okay.
What's on your list for Santa Claus this year?
Hmm. Health, safety, and true and honest and consistent love. I would say that if I had to pick something other than the most important things, I would say, man, what would I ask for Christmas? I would say, huh. I mean, I'm very content with every blessing that I have. I feel very appreciative of, and got to go to Italy with my dad, my mom for my 40th birthday. Just surprised me that we're going to Spain and Italy, so which is crazy. I've been waiting so many years, and I'm so grateful that we get to go. But I What the heck would I ask for? My dad just said this to me. He's like, "You got a list?" And what would I ask for? I guess I would ask for. Huh. That's a really good question. And I'm not a material guy, so you know what? Let's go buck wild. Amazing Fantasy number 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man. It's outrageously expensive, but I'd love to have one. So, my question back to you. Hmm. What is the greatest gift you've ever given and the greatest gift you've ever received?
Oh, that's what I'm gonna have to think about here. Probably say the greatest gift I've ever received is my kids. Got a 6-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Um, Greatest gift I've ever given. Can I say them again to my parents?
Yeah.
Given grandchildren?
Yeah. You can if you want. So, you can.
Yeah, off the top of my head, they keep popping in. So
Well, that's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. I hope I get to say that one day about the gift that God gave me and the one that God helped me give back to my parents. So, with that being said, Kevin McKeown here with us, the head coach of the Binghamton Bearcats men's lacrosse team. Believe it or not, folks, as you get prepared for the winter, they're getting prepared for the spring. 2026 coming up here. Kevin, I appreciate the time as always. And happy that you're rocking a goatee. Good to have another one out there, but I look forward to talking with you and the guys soon, and just really appreciate the time as always.
thank you, Dan. Appreciate being on, and have a great Thanksgiving.
You too. Happy Thanksgiving.